don't shame yourself if you have grown in a different direction. It's okay.
Power sometimes for women can feel like a dirty word, we're not supposed to want to be powerful or go after power.
I should have done this. I should have done that. I should lose 5 pounds. Should be a swear word.
Oh, we need to let go of this bad girl notion. It causes so many problems,
I think some of the shame-based narratives is that one should sort of go away to pasture and then only re-emerge when you're perfect again.
Sometimes that means that you're not in line with your romantic partner anymore. So how does that play out?
Your soft-heartedness is your superpower. Be grateful, frankly, because I sleep really well at night because my clear conscience is my softest pillow.
It seems like we're caretaking everything and everyone except ourselves.
Spoiler alert, there is a cure for shame, everyone, and it's self-compassion.
What if the one thing holding you back in midlife isn't your age, your hormones, or your circumstances, but your shame? Today, I'm joined by Annalie Howling, performance coach and author of Unapologetic. Unshackle your shame, reclaim your power, and we are cracking open the silent weight so many women carry. We're talking about how shame hides behind perfectionism, people-pleasing, and playing small, and how to finally set ourselves free. If you've ever felt like you're too much, not enough, or somehow wrong just for wanting more, this conversation will hit you right where you need it. Follow along at the Iconic Midlife and at Red Carpet Roxy across all platforms. And tag us while you're listening and send this episode to someone who's ready to let go of who they were told to be. And don't forget to follow the show because your next chapter doesn't come with apologies. Okay, Annalie, welcome to the Iconic Midlife. How are you today?
Oh, thank you so much. I'm just really excited to be here with you.
Oh, well, I'm so excited that you are here with us as well. I know you're coming in from London, correct?
I am.
Okay.
I am. And we're having a little heat wave here, so I could be in the US at the moment, but yeah, I am.
Great. It's almost like you're having a California summer.
We're going to tell ourselves that, then we'll get all crossed about it, and then we'll have something to complain about, and then we can't cope. But yeah, we are.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, I want to thank you so much because I dived into your book, Unapologetic, right when I got it. It was so good. I even bookmarked, as you can see, so many pages. You speak so well about this whole sort of notion of shame and about how we as women, especially, carry so much shame. So what was sort of the impetus to make you want to put this to paper?
Thank you thank you for what you said as well, and thank you so much. I don't think we understand shame. I mean, that's the main reason. I think there are brilliant how-to books out there on a myriad of kind of subjects where we delve into self-help and healing and wellness, and they're great. But I don't think there's been anything so far that really gets under the bonnet of shame. And because shame is so deeply entrenched in our system, if we're not working with shame, if we're not able to get a hold of our shame and get that out into the light, I think the other things become more of a band-aid fix rather than really addressing the wound. And this is something that I was seeing in my private practice. I work with Olympians and celebrities from LA and, also beautiful human souls that have endured things they never should have done. And there was a unifying theme that when I was kind of explaining things like the fawn trauma response, or I was explaining where they were holding shame despite things having been done to them and where that holds us back, that was just such a light bulb moment. And it was really creating like seismic shifts in people's lives. And so I wanted to do the book because you have to have privilege to have a session with me. And I wanted to try and make this really accessible. And I love what you said about being able to go through it. I wanted to make the language really accessible as well, in a way that you didn't feel like you had to work too hard at it. I think you have an experience when you're reading the book. I mean, it's not nice. There's some things in there that are really hard to read. But I wanted almost as you turned the pages that you could kind of feel this resonance and that shift was happening for you. Because I just think we're so goddamn overwhelmed that, I am a single mum. Like, you give me another thing to do, even with really good intention, I can't do it. I've got too much on. So I wanted to almost, like I say, create a book that also gave you an experience, that gave you a shift.
It really did. And, I think you bring up so many great points in this book. And, One of the things you said was that shame thrives in silence. And that really resonated because I think we as women, and especially in this stage of life, for decades, we've been like the good girls, or we're supposed to do
Mm.
everything right, and really kind of hold ourselves together in that way and kind of, live like that. So, how do we even begin to identify where the shame is in our lives and that we've
Mm.
absorbed for so long?
Yeah, thank you. I think shame is a tricky thing. It's this insidious substance that's so deeply entrenched, and it is actually very, very difficult to put into words. I mean, if I asked you to list out some of your anxieties, we could do that bang, straight away. Oh, this is, the thoughts that kind of churn through our head because we have access to them so easily. Whereas shame is actually a felt sense, very somatic. It's deeply in our system. So it's quite difficult to give a language to shame, to the reason I wrote the book, because I think until we've got language around it, we go, oh, okay, I didn't realize it was shame. I thought I was anxious, or I thought it was guilt or something else. So shame is an I am. It always begins with an I am, and it's a limiting belief. I was just at it's nearly the solstice, I was at a beautiful women's circle event today, and we were releasing things that no longer served us. And pretty much every woman going up to the fire pit to release self-doubt, I'm not enough, feelings of worthlessness, that shame. So I am not enough. I am unlovable. I am unworthy. I am broken. I am helpless. I'm hopeless. I'm weak. I'm disgusting. I am terrified. I'm incapable. Those are shame statements, but they live so deeply within our system, as I mentioned. Always this like guttural feeling. And when you're experiencing shame because you have that horrible sense of almost nausea. If I am feeling ashamed, like we're ashamed of our shame. If I feel I've done something shameful, if you've ever had a pet and they have a little accident in the house, you can see that they're really ashamed. And we have those things. I said the wrong thing and I think I may have hurt someone's feelings. I took up too much space in that boardroom meeting and felt that my colleague didn't have the same opportunity. I took a risk and wore something that I thought was really great, and people gave me a certain look. And then we start kind of shrinking, as you mentioned. We start going back into being a good girl. We start dimming ourselves, and we're just not serving anyone in that way. So shame is if you're finding yourself with an underlying limiting belief that keeps coming up, often in different ways. Anxiety is almost your surface level kind of indicator that something else is happening. Anxiety, a good definition is that you're not able to access the present moment. You're either catastrophizing over the future, or you're coulda, woulda, shoulda-ing, which is a bit more guilt based over things you may have done in the past and you're wishing to have done it differently. But shame, if we're suffering with it, is this ever-present sense of our own brokenness. And fundamentally, I want to hide that. I want to do anything except allow someone to see my shame, because if you saw my shame, you'd surely reject me.
And I think it's interesting because I think a lot of people conflate shame and guilt. They kind of
Yes.
interchange the two. So, how would you describe guilt as opposed to shame? And can guilt be helpful in life at
Mm.
times?
Yeah, I think absolutely. Yeah. So guilt is a thing that I did. Shame is a thing I believe I am. So I give the example. You may have heard me chatting off air. My daughter, who's just turned 9, was coming around to ask me something, and you know traffic. I've been at this event all day. It was a little bit late picking her up from school. I could say all these things. I could be like, oh, babe, Roxy, didn't feel like I did great today. Should have left more time. Like, oh, that's me being guilty. I could give you the same set of circumstances that happened today, and I could say to you, why didn't I leave more time? I always do this. I am a bad mother. I'm such a failure. That is shame. That's the difference. So guilt is a thing that you did. And absolutely, to your point, we can use that as learning. If I'm using today, I could be like, should have left 10 minutes earlier, or simple things, actually I didn't feel good when I said that thing, or actually I didn't feel good when I didn't um, express myself fully unapologetically. That didn't make me feel great. Or I mean, it's a good indicator as well around sometimes situations we put ourselves in, maybe some toxic friendship set up. So we might get into that later. But the shame is an entirely different beast. It really is. It's something that you believe yourself to be, and you fundamentally believe yourself to be broken.
Hmm. Okay, I see. As far as women also in this stage of life, I know I feel a lot of people and even myself at times, there's like this invisibility factor. You kind of feel
Mm.
invisible, whereas in your 20s and 30s, maybe you felt a little more vibrant and seen by people and heard. And there's this like invisibility that kind of happens during midlife. And I'm wondering, is that tied to shame as well, or is that something kind of deeper than that?
I think it can be. I think because you may have, certainly for myself, I can give the example. So I turn 44 next month, and I really believe that I've had two lives. It feels so distinct to me. And the first part, my first life, was very shameful. And by that, I mean, I was so full of shame that what I did, I believed myself to be bad. I had a very violent childhood. I know you've read this, but for the listeners, I had a very violent childhood. My father was violent, and my mother colluded and backed him up and told me that I was wrong. So I had no safe person in the house. So I internalized that belief. Well, I must be so bad because these two people put on the earth to love me. I must be so appalling that they have no choice. They would also tell me that it was my fault. I made them do it. They had no choice but to punish me in such a way. So I must be so awful and bad and disgusting. So I am bad, which was my underlying limiting belief, was born then, really young. And taking that through my life, I'm desperate then for friends. I desperately want to have friends because I don't have a good relationship with my family at home. And so I'm not standing up for myself. I'm accepting scraps in some situations. Don't get me wrong, I've had some nice friendships, but not always. And I wouldn't be asserting myself. I wouldn't be saying, actually, I do mind about that. Or, and then going into relationships, you can imagine the kind of relationships and things that we can call it tolerated, but let's be honest, things I thought I deserved because I fundamentally believed myself to be a bad person. And then for myself, the other layer on was this necessity to try and hide my shame. So I just became really perfect. Like to the point of burnout, which I think, again, a lot of women can resonate with. I feel ashamed of my shame. I don't want anyone to see it because if they do, they'll reject me. They won't want to know me if they knew what I was really like. If you knew what I was really like, I'm not a good girl. I think in different ways. I look at what everyone else is doing and I don't feel like that inside. Things have happened to me that I think you'll judge me for. So what I'll do instead is I'll mask and I'll be really, really perfect. And so there's never an opportunity. Like I'm spinning all the plates so fast. I'll be the perfect hostess. I'll be the perfect girlfriend. I'll be, perfect employee. I'll do that. I'll say yes. Let me help you. Let me put your needs above my own, which fundamentally for myself led to a burnout. But that was my shameful life. And then for me, on the other side of doing the work around shame and having that completely out of my system, which, spoiler alert, there is a cure for shame, everyone, and it's self-compassion. How we get there is a bit more challenging. But when I had found my way to that deep self-compassion rather than self-criticism, and that took over my system instead, and I did become unapologetic, hence the name of the book. But the other thing that I am is utterly, utterly shameless. And there's a British English saying, which I think is American as well, which is, have you no shame? Have you no shame? And it's like, do you know what, babe? No, I don't. And like,
Good.
it's the most liberating thing. I can't begin to tell you. I feel borderline unhinged because it's just so light. There's so much freedom in my life now compared to this relentless pursuit of perfectionism, as I say, just to hide myself. That's what I was doing. That's what shame did to me. And so I think with women, we are so conditioned to be a boss, do these things, but don't take from someone else. Like, for heaven's sake, don't be too much. But no one ever told us what too much was. So we fly close to the sun like Icarus, and then we go, oh, I think I'm maybe too much here, so I better dull down a bit. You've got some good news, but your friend's having a tough time, or you're at a dinner table and someone doesn't cheer for you, and we then we'll just suck it all back in again and just be pretty and polite and color within the lines because that's safe for us. And this is, for me, the kind of work that I had to really unpick at a very deep level. And that's what I've put in the book.
That's such a good point. And I also love that you brought up the idea that women as caretakers, right? So
Mm.
we're caretaking families, we're caretaking in our careers. It seems like we're caretaking thing in everyone except ourselves. And
Absolutely.
and part of it, I think it kind of goes hand in hand with some people pleasing. And I wonder how much people pleasing, how much that keeps us in a state of shame, like that we're sort of in this kind of cycle. What do you think about that?
There are very few people that I have met when if we start working together who believe they're worthy of unconditional love exactly as they are. Not when you've cleaned the house, had a wax, got the drop that last £10, sign that business deal. There's always a, but I need to be more, or I need to do more to deserve love. And I do think that comes from good girling early. Oh, you tidied your room. What a good girl. Oh, you did so well at school. What a good girl. I do think that I know that men have it as well, but we're just specifically speaking about women and the caregiving and the, like I say, colouring within the lines, not making a mess. Our emotions are untidy. The reason my book is called Unapologetic is the first moment it is about people pleasing and not saying sorry for being ourselves. But the moment that we become emotional, the moment the mask breaks, for any reason, grief, anything, the first word out of someone's mouth as a tear drops is sorry. And I really want to take a stand for, why is it that when we cry, the most natural stress release, when my daughter cries, I'm like, it's really smart, honey. You're letting stress out rather than stuffing it deep down into your system that we'll have to deal with 10,000 years later, and it come out as something else. But if we get upset, if I'm in a group of people, even in work that I do, people will say sorry the second they become emotional, because I think we've been conditioned to think that our emotions are messy and untidy, and or I don't want to trouble you by me being a mess. It's literally, I'm such a mess when we're crying. And it's the most beautiful thing to witness if someone's able to become vulnerable enough and feel safe enough, or simply they can't maintain the act any longer because clearly being around you has allowed this out. So I really do think that a lot of the early conditioning, caregiving, being rewarded for, oh, you took care of that, you looked after that person, that was so kind of you to share that, that was lovely. Don't get me wrong, we have rules in my house, but I think there was so much conditioning around that we lost our agency. I did some videos with my daughter that were on my Instagram page about sort of where you're first given shame. And in one of them, I'm speaking to her like I don't speak to her, how I was spoken to. And I'm saying to her, I want you to go over there and give that person a hug. You don't want to make them feel bad now, do you? Creepy uncle, whoever, that we don't know. And it was an example of one of the first times that you're told you're making your caregiver unhappy, this stranger unhappy. And despite whatever experience you might be having, you're told that you have to put somebody else's needs above your own in this moment. You lose your agency. And I do think that, not making anyone wrong here, or any parents or anything like that, but those are experiences that add up over time. And fundamentally, we learn that it's important to please others above ourselves.
I'm glad you're bringing that up too, because I know in our house, and I really had to work on my husband and like the older generation, especially because when they see like a child crying, the first reaction is, oh, don't cry, and it's like, that's so unhealthy. It's like, let this child, like you're saying, express emotion and express feeling and like, let it out, because the worst thing they can do is just keep that bottled in.
Yeah. And then you get further, quite often families can be one of the worst sources, because then even when you're older and then someone will say, oh, well, you were always so sensitive. Oh, you're being so sensitive. Oh, yeah, what if I am?
Right.
Like it's just shaming me for having an emotion now as well. It's yeah, there can be sort of characters often given, oh, you're being so sensitive, or why are you crying again? Or you're always doing this or something like that. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm not meant to do that. And that gets me in trouble, or that gets me love denied, and these sorts of things. So we learn to pretend and maintain an act.
It's like, why is sensitivity also a negative thing? Like, why
Mm,
is being, very in tune with your emotions and, very unable to express them really? Because I find that like my daughter is very sensitive and I feel like she experiences things like in real time. I mean, she really is such a feeling person. And for some reason, that's like frowned upon. That's like a negative. And I
mm.
wonder why that is.
And it's such a superpower. She's
Yes.
probably got such a good intuition. She probably, yeah, when you feel deeply, it's a really beautiful thing. And like, it's, yeah, people get, I think people get very uncomfortable about the emotion it's bringing up in them, and they see crying as losing control. It's this perfectionism thing again. The sorry, I'm such a mess. It's this fear of somehow being socially humiliated or losing control. And you're like, well, it's like I say, it's an honor. It's an honor that you shared that with me in this space. It's an honor to witness you, doing that. And like I said, if she's either bumped her knee or someone's been mean, I'm glad she's letting it out. It's the most natural way to release stress. But this sorry, this automated sorry, is something I really want to help us stop.
Right. That's such a good point. How we reclaim our power is so important. And it's really, really a journey. And I know, power sometimes for women can feel like a dirty word, like we're not supposed to want to be powerful or go after power, right? Like we're
Yeah.
supposed to want to just sit back and let things happen. So how do we start owning our power, especially as women, without being quote unquote too much, or the fear of being too much? Like, why can't, like, how do we just do it?
Yeah, I mean, I would say about the too much thing, like I hadn't really dug into it until I was writing the book. And then I was like, and I was asking loads of my girlfriends, and I can even ask you, like, has anyone ever told you what too much is?
No, I've never gotten a definition, but I know I've been told I'm too much.
Oh, you've been told you're too
Oh,
much, right?
yes.
Okay. And I mean, both of us could probably be like, if I said to you, could you think about someone that was a bit too much at college? You'd be like, nah, but why was that? Why were we told they were too much? Like, no,
Right.
I swear, it's this kind of bizarre trick of the patriarchy that is keeping us, it's pitting us against one another. So this is this power thing. I don't think we're fearing power in the sense of we can't do it. I mean, look at all the things we do. There's no lack of capability or ability. I think we fear the lack of support that we believe comes with gaining power. Who does she think she is? Like, what are you doing? I put, or, yeah, what do you think this is all about? Why should you have that and I don't? I think there's this real fear around the sisterhood falling away. And unfortunately, quite often that does happen, to almost revalidate that you become maybe isolated when you are reclaiming your power. But I want to say, because it has happened to me, I reclaim my power, not in a, I'm not currently running Goldman Sachs, but watch this space, so like, who knows where this may go. But and when I was in the pits of despair, going through my divorce, single parent, lockdown, you name it, everything, business is tanking, global recession, I had different people around me then who supposedly saw me and supported me and wanted the best for me. But then some of the best started happening. Some of my power came back. And I would say a term I really love is soft power. Like I'm a very gentle person, but I've got a bit of fire within me to kind of keep things going. But I was beginning to get my power back. I was feeling more like me. I was feeling more like me than I ever had. And then people started to fall away. And you realize, wow, you really did only support me when I was smaller, which is very, very hurtful and very difficult. So I think that the fear almost of the power is that we know some people will fall away from our life. But I'd like to say to anyone listening is that if you're afraid of being too much, you're never going to be enough. Just that if people really can't cheer for you at any stage of your life, whatever's happening, they probably aren't waiting for you to win. They're waiting for you to fall and look for a crack. There's obviously something going on in their lives. They need validated by you not succeeding. And when you do, that is entirely to do with them. I'm not going to say it's not difficult. It is. I'm not going to say it can't feel lonely. It can, but you do get your people entering your life. I mentioned there was at this sort of solstice, it was a book event. It was beautiful in the English countryside today. And it was 40 women just, releasing, but also reclamation was a word that was used a lot. The reclamation of self, reclamation of power, and what could be possible if we had those kind of meetings together, even like once a month. Imagine what we could do. You'd have no fear if you knew that the sisterhood was around you, cheering you on at every single step, reminding you of your power. If someone's listening to this and you've got a friend that's doing something bold, whatever it is, a 5K race, starting a business, leaving a relationship, starting a relationship after loss or fear, cheer them on and cheer them on loudly and let them know that you'll be there for them if it doesn't work out. Because I think those are the stories. I was on an interview yesterday for Bloomberg TV, and lovely guy who's got teenage daughters. And he's like, look, I'm really worried as a dad of teenage daughters. There's a stat that's just come out. You've probably heard it. Only 2% of pitches to VCs are from female founders. And why is that? And, let's cheer more people on. Let's open the doors together because it serves all of us rather than thinking that if someone else wins, it takes something from us.
That's such a good point. And I think about my daughter as well. My daughter's also at 10, so very close in age to your daughter.
Yeah.
And I do think about that notion of friendships, especially with her and other female friendships. And how do we teach our children about these sort of types of, toxic relationships and how to avoid them and, making their way through? Because, especially at this age with them, it's a very, very tricky time for friendships.
Yeah, we've had some friendly stuff. I'm sure you have
some hiccups in the road, right?
yeah, exactly. And there's a kind of, I think it's a really interesting thing. All I would say is, as long as they feel able to talk to you or they've got someone to talk to, like some of my best friends, we call them the aunties. And I say to them, talk to her about these things, obviously she's little now, but as she gets bigger, I want her to always have like kind of the different generations around that are able to support her and answer these questions. And as long as we're talking and we're sharing, Amber knows, I'm always like, and I say this to her a lot, I maybe don't know the answer. I never try and be a perfect parent. I never try and pretend to her that I'm perfect. I apologize when I get it wrong with her. And I always say to her, honey, mummy will figure it out. And that's kind of positive that we can, and also for her, we'll figure it out. Let's find out if, maybe that person was having a bad day, or maybe they are not the greatest friend to hang around with right now, but we'll figure this out. Let's just work on that together, and making her safe enough to always talk to me about these things, and knowing that, there have been some times I never thought I'd want to go and, murder a 7-year-old for
right,
being mean.
right there with you.
Like for being really cruel and things like that. But yeah, I think that as long as she's speaking to me about it, and we try and find our way through.
And we also need that same type of advice because as grown women, we navigate these kinds of relationships where maybe when we became friends with somebody, we thought they had the best of intentions, and slowly but surely they revealed themselves and it's a toxic friendship. So what do we do if we find ourselves in these toxic friendships as grown women?
Get out. It's dangerous. Exactly, said it's toxic and it seeps in. And I've been on the receiving end myself. I've had a lot of clients in. I see clients for betrayal trauma, not just from romantic relationships, but from supposed friends that were just basically awaiting a downfall and helping it along. And people like that are never, ever going to cheer for you. I know that now. Even if you were at a table and you've got some news and you realize that someone isn't completely, not completely delighted, they're not going to change. They're hoping that something bad happens, or at least your shine is a little bit less. Like, at 44, I haven't got the time for that. I want people in my life and my daughter's life, because I'm obviously the gatekeeper for her as well, who are positive and champions. I don't mean by that everyone has to tell me that I'm right all the time. My friends certainly don't. They will absolutely call me out on my shit, but they do it kindly, and they're doing it in honor of my highest self. They'll be like, that wasn't you. Like, that's not cool. That's kind of, come on, you can do better than that. And I really appreciate that. And I do that with them. But if you've got people who gossip, they're using the currency of gossip, be very, very wary about that. Like, we all like a little bit of tea here and there, but if people are just like, wait till I tell you about so-and-so, and wait till I tell you about this, and you won't believe that, run. Because that is someone who is also collecting these things from you, they're recycling this kind of information. And also I'm like, well, how have you got the time? Like, I'm busy, like, writing a book or building something cool, or thinking it's like lovely to with my daughter, or planning an awesome date with my boyfriend, or doing something nice for me. Like, how have you got the time to be, your side hustle is trying to bring people down? Like, congrats. It's just, what's the point? So yeah, I would say to anyone, I'm sorry if it's happening. It's really shitty. It's happened to me, and it's entirely on them, not you. The thing that I do get that I want to say, I get a lot of people that actually end up with some shame from it. Like, well, how could I have been so stupid? How did I not see it coming? And quite often, if we have got a toxic friend, maybe some of your other friends didn't like them that much and you knew. Some of your maybe older or different friends are like, yeah, I never really liked so and so that much, or you kind of knew they didn't really get each other. And I just want to say, if you were the kind-hearted soul that kind of took that person in and believed them, because why wouldn't you? There's nothing that you've done wrong. There's no shame that you should carry. You were a good, kind person who assumed that other person was the same. They're not, but your soft heartedness is your superpower. There's nothing you've done wrong here. And the reason you couldn't see it coming is because you can never think like them. You can never think like someone like that. And so, and be grateful, frankly, because I sleep really well at night because my clear conscience is my softest pillow. And I'm glad I don't have thoughts like that. I think that'd be a horrible way to live in that mind. So I just want to say to anyone that feels betrayed and is maybe carrying a little bit of shame about why they didn't see something coming, you couldn't have done because you don't think like that.
Absolutely. I was actually reading a little bit more about toxic people, and they actually stake out people who are empaths and like good of heart because it's something that they will never be, you know?
Yeah, they lack it. Yeah, it's literally moth to a flame. It is literally that. And so they are attracted to your light. So again, take that as a compliment. You have a light that they are attracted to. But that is why boundaries are so important. So, I mean, with some people, let's just say you're a bit worried about someone, you're not sure. That's when we put a boundary in. You're allowed to demote people in your life. That's okay. Like you don't have to be, oh, but I haven't sent them a message today. I didn't reply to their message straight away like I normally do. I didn't. That's all right. We're allowed to kind of change and shift around in our life, and we're allowed to change and shift around in how much time we spend in certain relationships. We are allowed to transform. We're allowed to adapt, and it's fundamentally our life. But yeah, they do actively, whether it's conscious or subconscious, but they are attracted to the light of a good, caring person because they're fundamentally empty, like deeply empty inside. And so they want to come and effectively fill their tank with your joy and everything of yours and sort of suck all this up with this great big Nesquik straw because they don't have that kind of goodness within them. Because they don't have goodness within them, it can't stay. And then the mask slips, and that's when often you're the one that has given some more, and then they pull the rug.
Why is it so hard for women to end these types of relationships, to break up with these types of friends? I mean, I think it goes back to like, feeling shameful and feeling,
Yeah, don't
like
want to be a
what.
bad girl. You'd be a bad girl. That'd be a really Roxy. What a bad girl! I can't believe you broke up with whoever. Like,
Yeah.
wow, it's so bad of you. Like, yeah, it's about being shamed and being judged. But in our parents' generation, even maybe a little while ago, we could have just lost touch. That's the other thing I say to people is, we've in this generation of being interconnected with social media. You never get the opportunity to lose touch with people, unless you do something dramatic like I've unfollowed them.
Yeah.
Never on the scene. Like so you don't. But if you think back to our parents, they would meet people on holiday, bestie pals, never see them again. Like absolutely fine. You had a job. I mean, how many of us are in touch with all of the people we ever work with? We're not. We've stayed in touch with a few people and sometimes people come back in when you change or shift, and like all of that's okay. But yeah, I think it comes into being a bad girl. We feel if we're bad, if we almost don't like something about somebody, or we feel bad if we're unable to keep up with the demands of that relationship and keep that person happy. It's bad girling. I feel like a bad girl.
Right. Oh, we need to let go of this like bad girl notion. It's just it causes so many problems,
It
It just.
does. It does. And for the people in your life, whether you're a parent to fur babies, whatever, caring for your parents, anyone that you're responsible and that you love, if you're suffering from a toxic person, if you think about it like an iPhone battery, that is depleting you so much because it corrodes, it depletes. And then the people that you really do love and that you really do get value from and you value them, that's the percentage they're getting of you because you've been good girling and giving yourself these toxic places that are eating away at you. And so it may feel cruel, but actually, the greatest gift you can give to people you love is your own joy. Like my daughter needs joyful mummy, not perfect mummy. My daughter needs the mummy that is just happy and open to be with her, but also just happy in myself, because she feeds off that for me. She doesn't need me people pleasing. And guess what? I've never been a class rep.
Lucky you.
I didn't do the bouncy castle at something because I was away doing something else, and it's like, I mean, the mums at the school now are amazing, but I haven't, they're awesome, but I haven't like homemade granola and done little packets or thank you gifts from our party and stuff. And it's like, some things just have to give. And I sort of, thankfully, with this, like I say, this new lease of life for me, this shameless life, I'd never hurt anyone. Like, that would be the worst thing I could do, would be hurt somebody, like cause someone pain or cruelty, especially from the work that I do. But the most important thing for me is cultivating my own joy so that she gets it first. And then the other people that I really love in my life get it as well. So if somebody is in a situation that someone is consistently making you feel crappy, you're taking that to the people that you love as well. So I'm offering that as a reframe. I know that some people feel very selfish and very bad girly for putting a boundary in with someone, especially when you've known them for a really long time. Like, history seems to be a massive factor in that. But another little reframe for people is like, if you met that person at a party right now, or whatever, in an elevator or something like that, and you spoke to them and they told you all their beliefs, how they live their life, everything right now, would you be like, amazing? Or would you go, whoa, whoa? Because you may just not be aligned anymore. And that is okay, because that won't be serving either of you, like dancing around and being in an act.
And what about if the breakup needs to be a romantic partner? Because I feel like
Mm.
also at this time in our lives, we're finding ourselves, we're reclaiming our power, like you're saying, but then sometimes that means that you're not in line with your romantic partner anymore. So how does that play out?
I mean, that is exactly what happened to me. You'll know because it's in the book, that is exactly what happened to me in my marriage. And we were in a place where things were not good. And so I set about on a quest to find anything and everything that would save my marriage. Every course, it's all in the book, every course, every podcast, every book, every session with a coach or a therapist, or anything that I could do to try and fix my marriage. And spoiler alert, everyone, I am divorced, like very happily in an amazing new relationship. Um, it didn't work, but what I found was me. And actually, I've never had a regret about leaving my marriage. I don't mean that to be disparaging against my ex-husband. We have a very good co-parenting relationship. We get on fine. It was absolutely the right thing for all of us. And I found the whole me. And when I did, I knew that she could never fit in the container of that relationship. It just wouldn't work. And that doesn't make anyone wrong. That just means that I was in a place, and him, that was no longer compatible. And the best solution for our family, because it still is in our modern family way, was for us to separate. And always communicated with my daughter, she was 3.5 at the time, that didn't want to have one unhappy home, so she has two really happy homes, and we're still friends, we're just not married anymore. And there was never a moment that didn't work out. Now, I'm not saying that was the perfect thing to do, but it helped me to realize that I just simply couldn't fit in that marriage, and that was no one's fault. My favorite, I wear a lot of, if anyone ever watched me online, I always have a snake on me somewhere, like some kind of gold snake, the symbol. And it's because the snake, if it doesn't shed its skin, it dies. The reason a snake sheds its skin, the reason if you ever see a snake's skin, it's inside out as well, where it's literally slithered out of it, is as a snake grows, the capillaries between its scales expand. And if it were to stay in the same skin, the same old skin, it would quite literally suffocate. So we're given these transitions and changes in life. If you have a partner that changes with you, amazing, like genuinely incredible. And please, share that love and support people that are maybe not in that place, and keep the doors open, and help other people going through it. If you find yourself with someone that can know, if you're being restricted and constricted and suffocated in something, it's okay to need to leave that. And I would just say that from someone on the other side, have things been difficult? Yes. But I was never more anxious than when I was desperately trying to figure it out or try and make something work that fundamentally just couldn't anymore. It was simply incompatible. And it doesn't have to be this huge, catastrophic, no one slept with the neighbor or sold the family silver, or, it was nothing like that. But I think that from some things that I do see when maybe conversations aren't able to be had, or people maybe don't face up to this kind of thing, or they then take what's called exits to the relationship, which can be drugs, alcohol, and cheating, but they can also be working, exercise. You can remove intimacy and effectively exit a relationship despite being in it in a number of different ways. And I've seen that play out as well. And I would say that, don't shame yourself if you have grown in a different direction. It's okay.
It's okay. And growing, speaking of growing, we're also talking a bit about aging and the
Mm.
changes that happen during this time. So, as we know, we can start to look different, right? The wrinkles
Uh-huh.
come, weight changes, hormonal shifts, all that kind of stuff. Um, but what are some of the most common shame triggers around our bodies at this
Oh,
time in
yeah.
midlife? And how do we push back?
I think there is I mean, in the UK in particular, there's been, and I know in the States, but a couple of very big selling books and movements around menopause. It's been very helpful to get that talked about, have positive role models as well. But it's always kind of, as is menopause, you don't have a period for a year and then it's like, oh, I went through the menopause. It's always kind of post that. I think we're having some more language now about perimenopause. Like I said, I'm about to turn 44. 100% I've got a few symptoms. There's no question about it. Working with a few people to kind of, ease into this transition. But I think it's almost like you have to hide away and kind of come back out. It's almost like I think some of the shame-based narratives is that one should sort of go away to pasture and then only re-emerge when you're perfect again. We couldn't possibly um have a hot sweat, staying in somebody else's house or any. I think we need to, again, mask the symptoms, mask your aging, mask a million different things that might be happening to you. And then maybe someone does get something done. I have Botox, like I don't have anything else on my face. I have Botox and some stabby lasers that are painful, but apparently it works. So that's fine. Like,
Here for
yeah,
the lasers and Botox. Yes.
I'm here for the laser Botox because I am. I'm 40, nearly 44. I like the sun. Like, it'd be ridiculous of me to say otherwise. Absolutely ridiculous. And that's what I choose to use and do. And if somebody else prefers themselves looking another way, then you do that. But I think the societal pressures and this almost behind closed doors kind of like, oh no, don't talk to us about perimenopause or like these ugly symptoms. Just have this sort of, keep calm and carry on, very British saying, but let's not talk about any of these things. I mean, even the medical institutions, well, it could be this or it could be that, but who knows? Good luck. You're like, great, I'll just find my way. Like, okay, that's brilliant. So I just don't have a period for a year. That means I've had the menopause. Yeah, that's it. Fab. Thanks. Like so thankfully, like I said, there's a lot more narrative and a lot of books coming out now. But I think it's been a really, you feel quite isolated, I think, actually. And because it's almost not a, coming of age with friends as you came through, okay, maybe when you started menstruating and started your periods in teens, like were you the last one or the first one? But it was probably, let's be honest, within a couple of years, together with your friendship groups, and you went through other life stages because of education system kind of at the same time. Whereas I think this becomes a bit of you may not be on the same journey as a friend of yours. Lots of my friends are different ages as well and at different stages of their lives. And I think it can feel a little bit isolating. I think you can start to, because again of the fantastic non-diagnoses of these things. Oh, well, it could be a headache or it could be that. You're like, fab. So I think the lack of kind of clarity can also make you question yourself again. And yeah, I think there is great work being done. I'm really pleased about some of the people in the space who are really actively talking about it and talking about some of the shameful areas that maybe we wouldn't. And I mean, Dr. Amy Killen, who I know is brilliant in this, if anyone wants to look to someone who is giving very helpful advice and not afraid to go there. But I think that we need to do a bit more there. And again, sort of sharing in with, and this is what helped me. And if you think a friend might be struggling, kind of holding your hand out, because it's, I think, quite nerve-wracking going through a stage where there just seems to be, like I say, a massive chasm of no information, and you're just sort of hoping to get through it with your eyes closed somehow.
Absolutely. I know. And I think it is really important that women know they should be able to do whatever they want. If that means,
Yeah,
doing Botox and lasers or not doing Botox and, it's like, it's whatever you want to do.
it's your body, it's your life, it's your
Yes.
body, it's your face. I mean, my God, please, that's reclaiming your power, reclaim your agency. I remember watching, I don't know if you watched the Pamela Anderson documentary.
Yes, I did. Wasn't that great?
Oh, I
Oh
mean,
my gosh.
unbelievable. But she talked about when she started to do the photographs, at the first beginning of the photographs, which were very sexual in nature. And she said it was because of being sexually assaulted twice when she was younger. And that was her reclamation. She's like, well, someone took my sexuality from me before I was ever ready to share it, and it should never have been shared. So that was my way of reclaiming. And so I think maybe at this point in midlife, perhaps I'm using quite an extreme example, but I think, the unapologetic book is for that. It's like, you know what? Fuck it. I've said sorry. I've tried to fit in. I've tried to placate you. I've tried to be like everyone else. I've done that. I'm now mid 40s. I'm not going to do that anymore. I did school pickup today in a black full length dress with a split up the side because I came straight from an event, and I did get out of the car and I was like, oh, this is potentially a bit too much. And I was like, no, I had to come straight here. This is what we're doing right now. I think maybe some of the people in reception were like, okay, a bit different, but actually no one cared because everyone's got to pick up their own kid for their own dental appointment and something else. And yeah, I would just say we've done it one way so far to this point, and we are at the midpoint. So why don't we try the other half doing it how we like and see how we feel at the end of that? Because I think that we don't have, it's not a rehearsal. And the only person, like I say, with the tank of joy we need to really fill is our own in order to give that to those that we really love. So why don't we start by making choices that suit us, not other people?
Absolutely. And I love that you use the word unshackle, which is so
Mm.
visceral. What's the first sort of chain that women can break to start living this sort of unapologetic life?
Should. So let's have a great should in my view, should be a swear word. We all have the biggest, as my kitchen, we have the biggest pile of shoulds. I should write those thank you cards. I should call so and so. I should get back to them. I should go to the dry cleaners. I should have done her dress for tomorrow. I should have done this. I should have done that. I should lose 5 pounds. I should have been at this point in the summer. I should have been doing this kind of thing here. I should have got back to you. I should have done that.
Should have shit.
Literally a massive pile of shoulds. And the thing is with shoulds, if it's a great exercise, if people want to list out their shoulds, please list them out and then have a look at it and have a look at how many of those shoulds are for you. Not for society, how I should look, not for other people, should have got them this thing, done something else, pleasing other people, meeting someone else's needs, even. And then write a list. I did do a little cleanse down, and then write a list of what you want. And it's going to probably be much shorter. Some peace. I want some peace. I want a beautiful cup of coffee, sit outside in the sunshine, sun on my skin. I just want to take some time and I don't know, do a little declutter a few spaces. I've been traveling a lot lately. I want to hang with my kid, hold her hand in mine, and watch a movie. I want to have a beautiful experience with my boyfriend and have an amazing date night. Like, it's a very different list. It's a very different list. Maybe I do want to move my body, but I want to move it in a way that makes me feel good. Like, the energy is totally different. So, one of the first things to do, please, everyone, even make a pile if you should and have a look at how much of it is there. And then I would say, go through that and be really rigorous. And if needs be, get a friend. An accountability partner is great. We've all got the friend that's a little bit shouty. Get
Hmm.
that one, who's like, you don't need to do that. You don't need to do that. You don't need to do that. Get them to do that. You can even put it on like the parking lot, we call it, so you can have it for later. And you can agree to come back to it in a week, 2 weeks, a month, whatever. Spoiler alert, when you do, it's probably completely irrelevant. But, nail down the world will stop turning if I don't do these shoulds. Probably for me, something school related, whatever, but like there's not many. And then look at how much space you've suddenly created for something that you want. And we almost feel like we can't, this again is the shaming, the good girling, the be busy, the do, the earn love, the, you know, task. It's almost going to feel uncomfortable to start with. You've got to build the muscle of want. We've got to learn to drop the shoulds. But that's one of the most amazing things. It's a great gift you can give to yourself.
Oh, that's great. And for the women who really feel stuck right now and
Mhm.
ashamed, and like, what is the very first thing they can do today? Like today, after they listen to this, to start,
Yeah.
letting go of the shame and really stepping to the person they want to be or need to be.
I am out of time. I'm too late. They're shame statements. So the first thing they can do is write that down and go and burn it. Honestly, because it's just a lie. That's an absolute lie, or interrogate it. So another thing to do is to look at that, whatever the statement, try and do the statement. I am out of time. I am too late. I am slow. I am lazy. Whatever it might be that is like underneath that belief. Then really dig into it, because I mean, one of my questions would be, is that yours? As in, is that really yours? And people go, yeah, I do believe that. Of course I do. I'm 60, I'm whatever, I'm too late for me to find love. And I'll be like, whoa, hang on. Is it yours? Or did someone or something give that to you? I.e., did you grow up thinking that? Did you grow up thinking 60 was too old for love? Did you grow up with, have you seen positive role models? Has somebody else said to you, you'll never find love? Where has this belief come from? Because I'm willing to pretty much bet it's come from other places that you've collected along the way. And it's just been revalidated a lot by negative experiences, commentary, social media. I mean, here's an unbelievable fact, but they know now to push beauty products to young girls according to how many selfies they've taken. So they know that if they've taken 60, 70 selfies, it means they didn't like them. Because if you took one and you loved it, you'd stop. And so the second then they go onto their algorithm, they're immediately pushed with beauty products because they're obviously feeling insecure. So isn't that terrible?
That's insane. Gosh.
Isn't that terrible?
Yeah,
Yeah. So they know
absolutely.
that how many you've taken, because it probably means that you were not just randomly you probably went loving 60 photos. You did that many. And then when you open your phone to go onto a social media channel or a place they can place an ad, you're going to get pushed beauty products because you feel insecure. So that's what I mean about interrogating these beliefs. Is it yours? Do you really believe you're out of time? Really? And if you weren't, if you dig into that belief and kind of should it again, like where did it come from? If that wasn't true, what would you do? I'd book a, do you know what? I'd take the pressure off. That's probably what I'd do if I felt like I was too late. I'd probably go, oh, I wouldn't feel like a failure. I would book that trip that I've been saving for when I met someone or when this thing happened, the I'll be happy when. I'd go anyway. I would do that spare bedroom up for me because I don't mind if a future partner likes that paint color or not. I love it. And it makes me feel great. That's what I'd be doing. And that's what I'd say to people. Please find the belief and please look at where that came from, because none of us are born with shame. None of us are born with these I am statements. They are often given to us during traumatic events and other languages, and they are revalidated throughout other things in society. And then almost gone a detox of those things and then see how you feel. Like one of my little favorite sayings is ask me on a different day. So that's another piece of advice is that that voice probably isn't always loud all of the time, but it might be on, a good example would be Sunday night. Maybe you've had a few cheeky wines on a Saturday, a few roses in the sun in the English summer, and you're maybe a little bit tired and emotional. That is not the time for me to start doom scrolling and comparing my body to someone else's on Instagram. That is not the time. Good night's sleep, nice meal, back into my routine. I could look at that the next day and it would have no effect on me. So it's kind of also doing good hygiene with yourself as well, in that, hang on a minute, I'm feeling really insecure. I feel like I'm really susceptible to the shoulding and the shaming and the really being down on myself. Let me just check, are my foundations being looked after properly? Have I had enough sleep? Have I made, the best possible sleep hygiene that I can to facilitate that in the best way. I can choose what food I'm eating to the best of my ability. I can choose the people that I'm around, because maybe sometimes I'm around certain people that are adding to that feeling of negativity or limiting beliefs for me. Like, have a look at the environmental factors, and then quite often, a bit like the list of shoulds that you can put in the parking lot, ask me on a different day, because tomorrow it's going to be something completely different for me.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. And it's so much of it too, I feel like is hormone driven. Like if I'm feeling,
Yeah. Oh God, yeah.
based on
Yeah.
our cycles, and oh my gosh, you can feel so bad about yourself one day, and then the next day, like you're saying, something doesn't even bother you.
Yeah, completely. And so
Right?
and be really kind to yourself. That's the other thing that I
Yes.
think we do, is that we have that, like on Saturday it's the solstice. I found out today that we used to all bleed at the same time on the new moon, and it would be called the red hut or something, where we'd all go and gather together, and we would ask each other what we needed to best support one another and how we all were, like the complete community around that. Like, such sisterhood magic. I love it. And yeah, but we now, I think, again, we don't want to show it. Take a sanitary product under your hand, under your sleeve, to the toilet, like heaven forbid someone knows you're having a period. It's all this like hiding, like the perimenopause stuff, and um not asking for help, or not saying, and those sorts of things, and then having a reaction that's not perfect, and then we shame ourselves for that even more. You're like, I'm literally this hormonal moon-based goddess creature, and that's happening to me right now. So being really hard on yourself when actually your body's begging you in that moment for softness and kindness due to you being more sensitive, it's counterproductive as well.
Mhm. What advice would you give your 25-year-old self?
Oh, she was heading towards a burnout. So yeah, she was ignoring a lot of stuff. She was sweeping stuff under the rug. She was wildly careering towards a burnout. I would really want to tell her it's going to be okay. And you don't need to be so hyper independent, and you don't need to push so hard. It's okay. The kind of thing almost full circled with, like, you are lovable. Exactly. You are worthy of love exactly as you are. You have nothing to prove.
And how are you living iconically right now?
Ooh, I love that question. I mean, the school pickup was quite iconic. I've got to be honest. That was like, I actually had a lot more jewelry on then. I had these snake earrings. I had this big diamond choker on. I mean, I hadn't planned to do it on a
Uh,
gravel car park drive at my daughter's school, but every day's a catwalk. So that was quite iconic. Yeah, I would say the iconicness is genuinely the shameless freedom. So really, it's about me knowing my needs and being able to own them, and unapologetically, and just, yeah, embracing my soft power.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, and on the Iconic Midlife, we always love to play a game at the
Yes,
end if you're up for it.
I love stuff like this.
Okay,
Yes.
good, good, good. Yay. So this game is called Shame or Set Free. So it's a quick fire game.
Yes.
And I'll say a scenario and you tell me if it's shameful or if you set it free.
Mm.
Okay, so number one, wearing a bikini at 50,
Set free.
right? All the things like wear it, girl,
Oh my God.
right?
Yes.
Saying no without an explanation.
Oh, my favorite. Set free.
Having boundaries that disappoint other people.
Oh, even better. Set free. Yeah, even better.
Having boundaries, it makes your life so much better. It really
It's also
does.
the best thing for both people. Like, please
Yes,
just remember that you're doing it to salvage and keep and maintain a relationship that's important to you. So it's not a shitty thing. It's actually something that can help sustain and add to the longevity of a connection that matters.
absolutely. And it's great for kids too. They need boundaries.
Hmm.
Not wanting sex as much as your partner.
I mean, there's no shame in that. Like, set free.
Starting a new career in your 40s or 50s.
I mean, more, 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 more.
More.
So definitely set free. More, more, more. Please, more.
Ooh, outgrowing old friendships.
Definitely set free.
Hmm. Taking up space and speaking your mind.
Well, we can't be afraid of being too much. So I have to say set free.
Wanting more money, more attention, more joy.
Ooh, well, more joy, I'm saying set free.
Okay.
More attention, I might be like, I mean, the therapist in me is like, what's behind that? So I'm going to go with set free because we can manifest and want more. I would underpin it with make sure it's for the right reasons.
hmm And more money.
Yeah, I mean, there's enough for all of us. So we don't have to be fearful. Money, we don't have to be in the lack mindset. There's plenty to go around. So we just, again, just know that it's I hope it's for the goodness of moving humanity forward in whatever way you would like.
And I think there's a real problem. Women have a hard time saying that, they might be, they're one of their goals might be making money, and it's a very hard thing for women to say. And I don't think women should feel shameful
I'm
about.
fairly sure gold digger doesn't apply to a man, does it?
Right.
There's a few terms for women that want to, and even though that's like in a relationship, I've heard it said about, like the whole being bossy. That's only for a woman as well, and so there's a lot of negative connotations about wanting more.
hmm Okay, feeling afraid and doing it anyway.
Oh, definitely set free.
And choosing not to have sex or choosing to have a lot of it.
I mean, I have loads of it, so I'm going to obviously say set free.
Yes, girl, you've got to love the boyfriend, right?
Oh, he's terrific. So yeah, set free.
Oh my gosh, how long have you guys been together?
2 years, just over 2 years.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah.
Clearly you're happy because you're glowing, lady.
Thank you. Yeah, I am very happy. He's awesome.
That's amazing. Well, consider us officially unshackled. Please pick up Annalie Howling's book, Unapologetic. You will just,
Thank you.
I mean, once I picked it up, I couldn't stop. I read the whole thing in like a day. I mean, it was so good.
Oh, I love
give
that.
so much great advice in this book. So everybody, please purchase it. And yes, thank you so much, Annalie, for coming on. Your advice is everything. So
It's my
thank you.
pleasure. It's my pleasure.
Shame loses its power the moment we speak it out loud. Huge thanks to Annalie Howling for helping us name it, challenge it, and walk right through it. This episode was a reminder that power isn't about perfection, it's about truth. And the more honest we are about what's been holding us back, the more unstoppable we become. Follow at the Iconic Midlife and at Red Carpet Roxy across all the platforms for more episodes that hit deep and lift you higher. Tag us with your favorite takeaway and share this episode with someone who's ready to stop apologizing and start taking up space. And don't forget, this is Midlife, unfiltered, unshackled, and entirely yours.